You watched me talk about elevators, you watched me talk about illusory walls, and now you're watching me talk about staircases. Is there any other architecture out there you want a video on? Let me know down below. A staircase is a set of stairs. That's the dictionary definition, and the Soul series truly has some memorable ones. I'm Billy S, and these are 7 celebrated Soulsborne staircases I'd climb on leg day. When talking about this topic, I knew that I had to start out strong with a set of stairs that truly left an imprint on the player. And by imprint, I mean a bloody smear from the giant boulder currently rolling towards you. I'm of course talking about the Sen's Fortress boulder stairs from Dark Souls, a trio of stairwells leading from the middle of the fortress in 3 varying directions. Now you might be thinking, aren't those ramps, Billy S? Look at the footage, dear viewer, those are very clearly steps on the floor. In fact, if you want to avoid the boulders yourselves, you've got to work those leg muscles until they're screaming. The boulder stairs are important towards the exploration of Sen's Fortress, first acting as obstacles that you need to avoid as you try to rise higher into the building, but eventually they can be used to access extra areas. You can't save Big Hat Logan without sending a boulder down the central staircase to break open his chamber, and down the leftmost staircase is a breakable wall that can be destroyed to access the covetous gold serpent ring. On the right staircase, if you make it to the top of the ramp, you get the Ring of Steel protection, which officially makes all 3 stairwells worthwhile to visit. Having them start as deadly traps while also being an intrinsic part of the level progression is what makes them special. In an area that is all about climbing higher and higher to reach your goal, it only makes sense to focus on staircases which are tools for getting higher and higher in real life. And I really read that sentence out loud with the gravitas of someone revealing an ultimate truth about the universe. That is the power of Soulsborne staircases. Popping back to Demon Souls, we do have a couple of iconic staircases in contention for this list. 4-2 has some great stone staircases leading downwards that require you to dodge Shadow Men's beams as you descend, but I've got to throw my hat in the ring to the Maneater Staircase in 3-2 instead. It's not fully clear where you're aiming to get to when you first arrive in Upper Latria, and it's not until you drop the giant beating heart and release the nest of insects upon the land that your pathway forwards becomes clear. Near the start of the area is a giant spiral staircase that winds upwards to a higher tower, and I can't help but find the vista to be spectacular whenever I climb it. You feel like you're going higher than anywhere else in the game so far, with the only danger being a singular mind flayer midway. This mind flayer is actually part of why this staircase ranks so highly, for its infamy at being able to psych out players attempting to do the run back to the boss. I've died to this mind flayer more times than I care to admit in the past, so my advice here, just be aggressive. Don't let him breathe, and then enjoy the spiraling staircase that leads up and up to the boss. The fact that this was inaccessible when you arrive in 3-2, which leads you on a vast journey around the area just to unlock this stairway, is very Zelda dungeon inspired. And if you know me, having level design based around Zelda is always a plus. Even the way the camera pans back slightly as you climb is just a subtle way of showcasing the grand nature of these stairs to the player, and I have to give it my utmost respect. While the majority of the entries in today's video are positive, I had to shout out at least one staircase that has negatively impacted my experience in a Souls game so you can see both sides of the coin, and there is none more infamous than the Enir Ilim murder steps in Elden Ring. Let me set the scene. You've just made it through the first courtyard of the final zone of Shadow of the Erdtree, and you've even managed to beat a very tough Divine Beast warrior. The next site of grace is just up a vast set of stairs behind a single doorway, but as you take a step forwards, the ground beneath your feet alights with white magic that begins to damage you. You panic, the rings start to follow, the caster must be nearby, but to your horror, you discover that the primary caster is above the very door you're trying to get through. Impossible to hit without ranged attacks, and other enemies are now also attacking you as you approach. It's a hectic light show that doesn't allow for any sort of cautious or slow gameplay. You have no choice but to break through the gauntlet and just run towards the safety of the doors above, where you can use the iframes from the opening door animation to avoid those last few hits and secure your sight of grace. Everything else in the DLC is extremely well balanced, with enemy positioning being a real strong suit, except for this one single moment on this one large ascending staircase, and it's to the point where I'm still thinking about it to this day. The Spira ambush of 2024 live in 4K. To balance this out, maybe you should consider parrying that subscribe button, as we're trying to reach 50,000 subscribers, and a majority of my viewers, well, you're not subscribed. I know you hate to hear me ask, but it really does make a difference on the channel. With such a focus on gameplay staircases, our next two entries are instead going to skew towards simple aesthetics, because sometimes all you need is a staircase that looks good and feels gorgeous as very flat stone steps can feel, of course. And we've got a bit of a crossover here, as one of my best elevators in Soulsborne is technically making a return, because it's also a staircase. The Cathedral steps of Anor Londo are some of the most iconic imagery in the series for fans, from the winding staircase elevator that you use to reach the various elevations of Anor Londo, to those giant central stairs that rise up to the cathedral's main gate. I can't tell you how many times I have climbed up and down these. Dark Souls has the golden light that bathes them in a majestic aura, which is then undercut by the darkness once the illusion of Gwyndolin has been shattered. Then Dark Souls 3 has them coated in frost, with Silver Knights patrolling at a more frequent pace. This was where I did a lot of farming for Covenant items while searching for my 100% achievements run of Dark Souls 3, so I climbed up and down these stairs maybe 500 times in a single playthrough, possibly double that. It was hours upon hours. But I didn't mind, because I think the visuals are that striking. The architecture, combined with the Anor Londo Cathedral in the background, feels so grandiose. You're so small walking up these steps, it really highlights your place in this world. And in 3, all of the surrounding city is just gone. The cathedral is the highest point, surrounded by naught, like you're traveling higher to reach the seat of a god, or more accurately, a lord. But if we're going for the most aesthetic staircase in the series, look no further than the Fountainhead Steps of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I'm specifically referring to the mountain steps that lead to the Divine Dragon boss fight. Now, I'm choosing to ignore the enemies here, who are the last line of defense before you reach the boss in Fountainhead, but killing them and just taking the time to stroll up the steps at a leisurely pace allows you to see so much detail. I even recorded extra footage for this one. Be generous! The bright pink blossom trees that sway in the wind, releasing their petals down the mountain, the berry bushes and shrubbery that lines the pathway, and the ancient wooden torii gates that you pass through as you climb are all accented by the cobbled stone staircase with sacred water running down the cracks. It's a true vibe. Lightning will sometimes strike, implying you're close to a place of power, and you can see large rocks jutting up in the distance, the very peak you're seeking. Nearby the steps is a little outcrop where you can stand atop the cliff overlooking the rest of the world, and it puts into perspective where you are in Sekiro's universe, in a place most sacred and ancient, ready to take on a god for the right to sever immortality, leading to a final cavernous pool atop the mountain where a few steps lead up to a shrine maiden peacefully sleeping, the only one who can understand the cries of the divine dragon. The Fountainhead Steps feels like a sacred path that only a chosen few may climb, inherently different to any of the other staircases we've covered or in the series as a whole, and I just find it a shame that most of us will run through without processing those visuals because we just want to unlock the idol before all the enemies gank us. While I have been critical of Dark Souls 2 in the past, one area that I think the game really flourishes in is the level design department. Specifically, level layout. And the one area that I found more interesting in recent playthroughs is the Dragon Shrine. Your goal is to work your way up to the ancient dragon at the peak, following the chosen path and completing various battles along the way to earn the respect of the soldiers stationed here. And so, you open an unassuming door towards the end of your time here, only to enter a vast staircase leading upwards. This is the Ancient Dragon's Stairway, the final ascent to your destination, with dragon soldiers standing on the leftmost and rightmost walls watching you rise up. And between you and your goal is a singular dragon knight wielding dual blades. In the original Dark Souls 2, this staircase was just an enemy gauntlet, a pain in the ass in all honesty, and an area dreaded by players because it's part of the Ancient Dragon runback. In Scholar of the First Sin though, due to the Dragon Shrine having the gimmick where the Dragon Knights are testing the player and allowing them to safely pass if they survive their tests, we instead get this cool moment where the leader of the Knights takes you on to prove you're worthy of an audience with their god. The other knights won't intervene unless aggroed, meaning you can take all the time you want to face down this unique foe on these stairs. He starts with the high ground, as you have to face him on an uneven staircase, and yet you overcome him, using your skills to come out on top and bring home your victory. And all that awaits afterwards is to climb the rest of this iconic stairway to your reward. The worst boss fight in the series. Staircases that move are really cool. You may be thinking, this is when he mentions the moving staircases in the Duke's archives from Dark Souls, right? Wrong. I refuse to give those staircases an entry out of the spite I felt for climbing up and down them while trying to farm the Channeler's trident weapon. You don't know true pain until you've known the 4% maximum drop rate. Besides, why get the Temu knockoff when you can go Gucci instead? Introducing the best staircase in the series that moves, the Research Hall Stairwell from Bloodborne. Unlike the rest of the stairways on this list, which are either just aesthetic moods or are notable in one small portion of their level, this Bloodbornian stairway is the level. You have to find your way to the very top of the research hall, which can only be done by climbing the maze-like spiral staircases up to new floors. Many of these staircases lead to central platforms that then branch off into other directions, giving you so many avenues to explore. Not every path leads to an item or a doorway though, with some being seemingly useless upon first glance. That is, until you reach the very top of the area and pull a lever which changes the elevation of the central staircase. This allows the various stairwells to connect to new platforms, allowing you to reach the Living Failures boss alongside some other rare items and pathways. Though it also pushes you into danger with a rather perilous hunter enemy in the latter half, and who can forget the first half's Gatling gun wheelchair man who ended my career multiple times. The fact that by pulling the lever, you effectively access a second portion of the research hall, completely changing the way you interact with the area, is what makes this staircase so special. It's the only one in the series to have such a drastic effect on its level, and will likely remain that way for the foreseeable future. You can't argue with this one, it is the best staircase in Soulsborne. And that's my list. Do you agree with my staircase picks that I featured here? Let me know down below, because I know there are some other good ones I didn't talk about. And be sure to parry that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all my future videos. Trying to reach 50,000 subs, I bet we can do it if I just urge you to subscribe. A massive shout out to my YouTube channel members for supporting me for another month. You guys are amazing. It's $4.99. You get access to a Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 2 Soul Level 1 run, which is very fun to watch. If you want to follow me on social medias, I have Blue Sky, I have Discord, I have Twitch, and I stream on YouTube every couple of days, so you will always find a way to keep in contact. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time for another architectural Soulsborne ranking. Adios.